Welcome back to One on One with Ivan Thomas. I'm your host, and the verdict is in. I'm about to take my glasses off for this one because it was a lot of. It was very intense in the studio. We was actually waiting around like everyone. Eyes were on the TV. But the verdict is in, and there is. It has been served as a hat trick. Guilty, guilty, guilty on all three charges. So today's special guest I have here in studio to talk about the verdict, to talk about where do we go from here, but also to talk about the collaboration between wisdom and youth and strength. So wait till you hear these two dynamic individuals that I have. So first off, let me say welcome to Bishop Gibson from IMAC, the president-elect of IMAC. Bishop Gibson, how you doing today?
Well, Ivan, I'm doing wonderful, and thank you for this invitation to come and share with you and to your listening audience. We are appreciative of this time that we have to have just good conversation,
Yeah.
And to celebrate a win for today.
A win for the day.
Yeah.
A win for the day. And that leads me over to my main man, Coby Owens, NAACP. Coby, how you doing today?
I am extremely grateful for the verdict that just came out. And it gives me a renewed hope that in this fight that we can keep pushing to see justice for our community. It doesn't stop here.
Right.
We got to keep going.
What did the verdict do? What did the verdict do to you personally?
Yeah, it gave me a new energy, even though it was just a few minutes ago. It gave me some faith. It gave me some hope that we can see justice in our community. We can see what we want, and that's fair policing. We want to be treated as human beings, as Black people in America. And what we saw, it shouldn't take national protests to get that type of verdict. It shouldn't take people crying, people showing raw emotions in the streets, millions of people around the world. It should show that we are not going to just sit back anymore, though, that we're going to be vigilant, that we have eyes on all these cases that are going on, and that we're just going to keep pushing. For me, it gave me energy in the fight to keep going.
Bishop Gibson, what did it mean to you?
To me, because part of my ministry is international, I sensed a sigh of relief around the globe. I believe that this particular case, this particular issue was seen by the globe, and there was no justification that could be brought to the forefront that would deny that a man had been murdered in plain sight. And so for me, been a long time in this fight, I just felt like we gained some ground today, that the heart of the people were heard, and the verdict was passed, and justice was served for this particular moment. Maxwell says that when we fail forward, it's not the journey, it's the isolated incident. I want to mark this, mark it, highlight it as an isolated incident. We still got much room to gain in the journey.
And that's it right there. The ground that was gained today, was it enough? And if not, how do we go? How do we move forward? And how do we get there?
Again, I view this as a good first step on the pathway to justice and a pathway to equity here in America. But when we look at it, the fight to dismantle systematic racism in this country has far to go. And we have to do that by coming together and working together. Because like I said, this was one step. But in order for us to create true change, we have to step in unison. That means the faith leaders, that means nonprofit, labor unions, all coming together. The community working together to see true justice in our system. And at the end of the day, we want to lift up the voices of the families of the ones who will not be here with us any longer. This verdict was great. It was a good win for the community. But no matter what, that does not bring George Floyd back.
Right.
That's not going to heal his family's pain at all. They're still going to miss their loved one. And I think for families across America who've lost loved ones due to police brutality, they know that feeling all too well.
Now, Bishop, let me ask you this. You two are collaborating.
Indeed.
Now, that collaboration between the wisdom
And the young Jack.
and the youth, right? And the youth, but most of the faith and NAACP.
Mm-hmm.
And where you come from Philadelphia, where you see that it's a different animal,
Yeah.
In collaboration. What brought this collaboration here between you and Coby?
I thought when we were setting up for this peace and justice rally, IMAC, we had an executive board meeting, and then we had a meeting on Saturday, brought Chief Tracy into the Zoom room to hear his heart, to let him hear what we were saying, put him on the hot seat, answer the tough questions,
Right.
And so when we talked about it, I said, we didn't know how this was going to go,
Right.
but we need to have an initiative by the faith leaders to do something to calm the hearts of the people, to speak in the language of hope for the people, and to continue to echo faith in the lives of the people. And then when I called Reverend Shanika Perry, she shared with me what Coby was doing. Also, as you know, this Saturday is the 20th anniversary of Stop the Violence.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that the weekend could be impacted in a way that we're all on the same page.
Right.
So when Shanika plugged me into Coby and I heard what he was doing, for me, I don't like the silos. Back to that again.
Yeah.
Philly was a fellowship town. Philly, to me, was integrated. We, were amalgamated, mixed and mingled, so that we could work on the common cause collectively.
Right.
Talking to Coby, my heart was made light. Here's a young brother that's the age of my children.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt his spirit. He connected to my spirit, and I said, man, we got to negotiate. We got to bend, bow. We got to become pliable, because we want the same thing. And no sense of us being at opposite ends of the city when we could all be in one place pushing the same agenda.
Right.
And so he just made my heart feel glad that not only did he hear me, because sometimes we want to be understood, but don't want to understand.
Understood.
Understood. and so hearing his heart and his passion for our people, it just made me have confidence that as I continue to release power and energy and support to the younger generation, I could look in confidence in one that has integrity and dignity.
Yeah.
Those things are really important to me.
Right.
That not only are you mature, but you also have the integrity to carry out leadership to a community that is broken. How do we heal that? And that's where my main thrust is right now, is that if it takes a whole community to heal one child, how now do we fix the broken community because the child doesn't have the community that is needed to stay healed?
Right.
So I think it's our job to speak those languages of love and hope to a community to heal that, so we can move on forward.
Now the collaboration between IMAC and NAACP and you, Coby, you've been around for a good amount of time now, and you've been heading a lot of protests and a lot of peaceful, let's say this, peaceful marches. What is it that you think that you can gain from Bishop here to make it more impactful, more powerful, and bring and get the message, the common denominator, the message out?
Yeah, like I said, when I organize, I look to build coalitions. One, because it's bigger than any one person. And again, this idea and this need to be into the streets was fueled by George Floyd's death, but we have a George Floyd right here in Delaware with Lamont Moses.
Right.
And I feel as though that his story is not getting out there, and that it's not on the forefront of everyone's mind here in Delaware.
Bring that up a little bit before you go any further. Who Lamont Moses is, and what's the justice that we're looking for here?
Yeah, so at the beginning of 2021, in January 13th, Lamont was sleeping in his car when police approached him. They said that they were in the city. County police were in the city of Wilmington over Riverside, and they stated that they were looking for stolen cars. He was asleep in his car, not bothering anyone, and they decided that they were going to profile him and reach into his car. They violated his constitutional rights. They reached into the car, opened the door. He was asleep. When he awoke, he was confused. He didn't know what was going on. And as the actions happened in a very quick time span, they ended up murdering him. They shot him as he was trying to drive away from the police, not towards them. And everyone can view the video, that the body cam videos that was put out. He was driving away from the police, which is against the law here in Delaware for police to shoot at moving vehicles unless the vehicle is directly putting them in harm. You look at the jurisdictional agreement that was violated, that the county did not notify that the city notified the city that what they were doing here in their jurisdiction. And you just look at the blatant use of force that we've seen here. The fact is, in Delaware, there's very little oversight over our police departments. That's why you've seen groups like the Smart Justice Campaign, the Campaign for Fair Policing, Delaware Policing Reform Now, Depot. All these groups are pushing for policing reforms, especially with LEA Board. LEA Board is the Law Enforcement Bill of Rights, which has given a special layer of protections to police officers. The first state to ever have one was Maryland, and they just recently repealed and replaced theirs. Delaware has slow-tracked theirs. There's still a lot of work to do here. It starts by reforming and amending LEA Board. It starts by passing use of force policy that's not that really hones in on what warrants use of force here in Delaware. And it's also by creating a system that has body cams for every officer who's on the streets here in Delaware, whether it's Wilmington, Georgetown, Newark, UD, Del State. Every officer should have body cams. But then also we have to change the system. This system where I wake up being a threat because of the skin I was born in. The system that allows for white nationalists to hide behind a badge and use that to terrorize communities of colors. It is time for change, and that's why I am so ingrained in this fight over the years, and coming to now, working with the Fair Policing campaign, and working with the ACLU and the NAACP and now IMAC. We all want to see change in our community, right. And we all must walk arm in arm in order to get there. When I do protests, I do my protests based off the skills I learned, and that's from the Poor People, Dr. King's Poor People's Campaign. That one, you have to bring in all communities. You have to have a multiracial, a multi-generational, and a multi-religious coalition of people there and welcome them all in. And then from there, you have to deliver policy points. You have to know what needs to change in the system. And then 3, you have to bring the ability for people to heal, people to let their emotions out. And that's the actual protest. When we gather with one another, even in COVID times, we gather to say we're here for each other. Right. It's not for other people. It's not for TV. It's not for media. It's for us. Because us as a community, we've seen so much pain and ache over the years that we can no longer just sit back and do nothing. It's going to take us all working side by side to get it done.
That protest that he's talking about for us, what makes this, which was going on Sunday for us, the protest that you guys are having together, what makes that for us? You know, because, and I love how you said it, we're dealing with our own George Floyd here. There's a lot of trauma here, you know, for our people. And just like you, Bishop, waking up as a black man, a big black man, I'm a threat. I'm a problem. You know what I mean? Being an educated black man, I'm a target, like everyone else out here. You know, and protesting, and so I remember I think I heard earlier today that the lady said on TV, she was like, protesting is the language of the oppressed, right? And so after the protest, we know you guys sound, and I know, and I believe, and it's written that you have a plan. So this Sunday, correct?
This Sunday,
you have a protest. So can you tell me about that protest and what makes that protest a little different?
I think what Coby hit on is something that him and I talked about earlier, that this multi-generational idea and this whole ecumenical ethnicity, all of these particular components play an important part in how we not only collaborate, but how we debrief to talk about the points of action that need to take place. And so Sunday, they're starting from Kingswood Community Center. So they're walking at 3 o'clock all the way to Rodney Square. We'll be there waiting on them to get there at about 3:45. And then the collective unit will begin the protest of peace and justice, and what you started off with. Where do we go from here? And how do we accomplish the opportunity for our people, black and brown brothers and sisters, to be able to play on the same field, actually have the ref blow the whistle at the same time without changing the rules of the game while we playing.
Right. Third, fourth quarter. Right.
So I'm just excited about this, and for me, this is what Coby said earlier. This is the beginning of many to come.
Yeah.
I think that we have to pick up our response time.
Yeah. Oh.
I think we have to pick up our response time. I think that when someone is killed or their rights are fractured, I think we have to pick up our response time to go and deal with it in the moment,
right?
And then have an answer for the moment as we begin to change bills and legislation.
I like that. You guys got to come back, because I want to talk more about changing bills and legislation. I want to talk about more of racial inequality and systematic racism. I think that this is a conversation that we need to have right now while everyone is watching.
Indeed.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Last year was a time that America was starting to become broke. No. Let me rewind that. Years ago, over 300-400 years ago,
broke.
Right, it became broke. But now, and I think it's the time that it's more black and brown people and more white people that are stepping up, saying that, yo, this is wrong. When you have 12 jurors and 6 white and 6 black and brown, and they come up with a verdict of guilty, that is telling us something.
It is.
And right now, us need to listen, and us need to move, and us need to participate in what's going on, so us can change legislation and change those bills that's affecting us. We were talking earlier, Coby, and you was telling me about some of these laws, such as the water, in Georgia, you can't get water.
So all these laws that are being introduced, and some have passed already, you can't hand out water and snacks to voters in Georgia. They're introduced a bill in Minnesota that makes it illegal to film police riding on the back of this trial right now. We have to be vigilant of what's going on in our general assemblies. There's a lot of voter suppression laws. There's a lot of racist laws, Jim Crow laws, I call them, that are being introduced that deal with policing, that deals with how you interact with the black and brown communities in these communities.
How can people get involved? People watching this right now, how can they get involved with the movement? What does that look like?
So, the best thing we have right now at our fingertips is social media. And through social media, you can connect with almost anyone, anywhere in the world at any time. But if you're in Delaware and you want to get involved with the movement, please join the Fair Policing Campaign through the Metropolitan Urban League's Building People Power campaign. Join not just a protest, join the ACLU Smart Justice campaign. Get involved with one of the organizations, the NAACP. Please get a monthly or a yearly membership. Join one of these organizations who've been on the front line and come in. They are looking for new people to get involved and bring those ideas to the forefront of what's going on right now. Because when you get proximate to the issue, when you talk to the people who are on the front line of everyday issues, that's when you get the best solutions. As you get further and further away from that, you get a solution that doesn't work for the entire community. That's why we must root ourselves in a community and do it in a grassroots area, in a grassroots way. I guess that's why they call it grassroots.
Right. Bishop, can you tell the viewers what IMAC is and how they can and what IMAC offers to the community?
IMAC is the Interdenominational Ministers Action Council, um, we see ourselves as a group of pastors and clergy across Delaware. It's about 90 churches connected to IMAC. What I aim to do so that the community can feel our embrace is this initial move between the collaboration of me and Coby. I'm trying to change a culture,
Talk about it.
and I think that 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 now what Coby had just said about being on social media is that because of the pandemic, we have to be a virtual presence that happens to have a physical space rather than a physical space trying to find a virtual presence. That you touch the globe just by the mean of erecting your virtual cathedral.
Right.
And I think for me, what happens now is that we have to pay attention that church is getting back to what it was when I was growing up. The community used to walk to church. Everybody didn't drive to church. The community, so people driving, people walking. For the last 5-6 months, we've given out 500 boxes of food in various communities around Wilmington and Newcastle County.
Right.
Why? Because we have food deserts everywhere, and people.
That's a whole nother show.
And people need to have food, so we give them boxes of food that would feed them for a week.
Wow.
Each family. So we've done that like 4 or 5 times.
Right.
I'm talking about 500 boxes. And so, but those things are necessary. The other big piece is, and like you said, we're going to have some other shows, this mental illness.
Talk to them.
That now becomes at the forefront because preachers and pastors that have gone to seminary have not been prepared for this mental illness epidemic. So now what happens is you're going to have to set up a mental illness ministry and people that are competent in that particular field, because oil and a tongue and laying on their hands, they need to be on a couch with a pill with a therapist. You know what I mean? So I think that these things have to help us to reevaluate. How we really care for and love on our people, that they become whole.
I think this collaboration between you guys are going to be amazing and definitely be a game changer for this wonderful state, you know. And for me being the state's biggest cheerleader, I'm first to say congratulations. And as much as I love to see collaboration, but I love to see, I have a fixation on speaking to the elders, right? Because the elders are the wisdom. And I learned so much from you know, listening to the elders, sitting at the feet of the elders. What are you, and I know we're going to get out of here, what are you willing to learn or hoping to learn from him? And what are you hoping to learn from him? I'm just talking about as an individual, you know, and so.
For me, I want to be able to hear Coby in a way that I do not limit his passion, his ideas, his imagination for how he sees the world through his visors, how I can assist him and be a undergirding for him so he can find his way to the medium of success as we lead a people into a promised land. For me, I think it's important that I sense his heart. That you know that I feel his tears even when I don't see them. You know, and that I tap in to the spirit man that's in him, because every man is a trichotomy. So he's body, mind, and spirit. And so it's important for me that he stay on kilter, that he stays with an equilibrium, because he has a responsibility to so many. And so I want to be part of the voice of wisdom to the ear of the future.
Yeah.
You know, and he's a mover and shaker, and I just love his spirit. You know, and so for me, I think that the relationship and the bond builds a strength that cannot be denied.
Did someone do that to you?
Yes, indeed. As you know, Ted Blunt was my mentor and been my friend. He's known me since I was a teenager. Sonny Hill took me from my parents when I was 12 years old and gave me the opportunity as a basketball prodigy. Earl Pearl Monroe, you know, these guys, you know, led me to Winston-Salem State to play for Big House Gaines, and in turn, you know, get drafted by the Sixers. So my life is kind of different than most preachers. You know, I've had kind of both sides of it. So I just see through another set of lenses, and so I'm just happy that watch this. I'm happy that I'm still here, and that I can embrace this fatherly role that I play now. I mean, I just turned 65 in January.
We say 35.
Yeah, and so, you know, so God has been good to me. I feel good. I don't have no health issues, and so I'm loving the opportunity just to collaborate and share and to let my voice be heard.
Nice. How about you, Coach?
For me, you know, I try to be a sponge and absorb as much knowledge and as much experience as I possibly can. Looking at someone who has so much experience, so much knowledge of the movement and what we're going through right now and what we've been through as a nation and as a people, I look to absorb that and use that to, one, make myself a better organizer, make myself a better coalition builder, and ensure that in my own work, it reflects what has been done already and how we can keep moving forward. So I thank the good bishop for being here today. I thank him for working with me and working with us. And you know, all I can say is, I actually don't like speaking a lot, but what I can say is from the phone call we had, I could tell this was going to be something special. I could tell that us coming together and bringing our communities together is going to get something done here in Delaware, and that's what I really care for, and that's how we have to do it. He talked about bringing coalitions together in Philly, and that we're in silos down here in Delaware, and that's 100% right. We are, and I've noticed that from my national organizing to here. It's one of the struggles we've always had, and I'm glad to see we're finally bringing down those barriers and working together.
Awesome. Gentlemen, thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
Really appreciate you.
Of course.
You got to come back, because we got police reform to talk about.
Yes.
Systematic racism to talk about. Literacy and education to talk about.
Indeed.
We got a lot to talk about.
Yes.
And you can be a part of the conversation here at DETV. Thank you for joining us tonight. And guilty. Delaware taking the first step to fix the world. All right, I'm your host, Ivan Thomas, and this is One on One.